Who are the top 5 MVP candidates going into the season? Can NFL players now return to college? And what is going on around the league, including a significant injury that could completely change the team's season? We're going to be talking about all that today on another episode of Monday Morning Football. Subscribe if you love sports and you just love talking and hearing about sports. Anywho, let's get into it. So, starting off with the top 5 MVP candidates going into this season. We all know it's a quarterback-driven award now. A quarterback has won it every year since 2012. It's been 15 years since a non-quarterback has won it. And my list is pretty much filled with quarterbacks as well. So, at number 5, we're going to start off with Matthew Stafford, the MVP of the league last year. I think he's in for another great season. The offense pretty much stayed the same. They really didn't bring too much in. They lost their right tackle, but he was out for a good chunk of the year last year. So their team is pretty much going to be running it back. You still got Devontae Adams. You got Puka Nacua. Yes, Stafford's getting a little bit older, but their offense is still loaded. And that's the only reason he dropped a little bit, because I just think it's a few more candidates who may have added pieces or may be more driven. But Matthew Stafford, obviously, the Rams are the favorite, so he's going to be leading the charge. They'll go as Matthew Stafford goes, and he has a very good chance of repeating due to the Rams having probably the best record in the league and him being the leader of that. So, that's now number 5. At number 4, we have a player who pretty much his team's going to be running it back as well, but the offensive line is getting better. I think George Pickens is going to get better for him. We have Dak Prescott at number 4. Like I said, the offensive line is getting better. George Pickens is going to get better. CeeDee Lamb is back. They got their whole squad pretty much going together, and I think this is just the year for them that they piece it all together. They have more chemistry. Their offensive coordinator, he's going to have another year with them, as well as their head coach. I think it's just a year where the Cowboys offense could really be explosive this year. I think they could pretty much take over the NFC with their offense. We'll still see with their defense, but they're going to be led by, obviously, Dak Prescott, their 2 wide receivers. Javonte Williams had a pretty good year for them, and he's back. So I see Dak Prescott having a great year for them, and he's a prime MVP candidate. At number 3, I have Lamar Jackson. This is a guy who I would probably have higher if they added more pieces for him. But they did have an addition by subtraction. Number 77 is gone. We're not going to even say his name, but he's off the offensive line. They did draft them a stud in the first round to fill in at the left guard position. They really didn't bring many receivers in. DeAndre Hopkins is gone now, so that's a big reason why I did drop them a little bit, because they didn't really make many offensive additions. But Lamar Jackson is still Lamar Jackson. I got to see if his legs are still working like they were, because at the end of the year he did look a little tad slower, but he's still Lamar Jackson. He still can be the best dual threat in the quarterback in the league, and he's going to put up great stats regardless. So I'm ready to see what Lamar does, and that is my number 3 MVP candidate. At number 2, I have a player that might shock you a little bit, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is a guy who has Jamar Chase. He has T. Higgins. Obviously, we all know great receivers. His offensive line has been shaky, but they're kind of trying to put it together, and I feel like this is the year where if Joe Burrow stays healthy, that's a big if, that they can actually get everything together. And Joe Burrow is going to have his top 2 weapons, like I said, going back at it, and they could be one of the best offenses in the league. They added more to their defense, so they can maybe let their offense slow down, kind of mix in the run in the pass. And I think Joe Burrow, he just looks driven this season. He got, like I said, he got the probably best 2 wide receiver, the best wide receiver doing in the league. And yeah, I just think he has a great season. The offensive line is probably going to get a little bit better. That's going to be a big thing in protecting Joe Burrow for him to potentially win MVP. But the Bengals will have to have a great season for that to happen. So we'll have to see. But I don't sleep on Joe Burrow. I think he has a big season coming. And then at number 1, my MVP favorite, who I think is the best player in the league right now. He can do it all. The turnovers can turn you off in that playoff game, but what can't he do? He has a big arm. He can run the ball. He can be accurate. He's a great quarterback in this league, and they added DJ Moore to his offense. Everybody else is pretty much running it back. We'll see if Keon Coleman actually improves. I actually think he'll improve a lot this year. So Josh Allen's gonna have targets. Shakir's returning. The Bills are pretty loaded on offense. The offensive line is great. Everything's set up for Josh Allen to have a great season, and for the Bills also to have a good record, which helps in the MVP race. So at number 1, I have Josh Allen due to they added weapons. I think DJ Moore fits their system so good, and he's gonna be that number 1 receiver for Josh Allen. And yeah, he's gonna a big season's due for Josh Allen, and I think he's gonna win his 2nd MVP of his career. Even though the first one, well, we're not gonna talk about that. Anywho, those are my top 5 MVP candidates going into this year. Let me guys know what you guys think. Did I miss anybody? Do I need to did I rank somebody in the wrong spot? Let me know what you think. And yeah, let's continue going. Next up, let's talk about Dae'Quan Wright, a tight end from Ole Miss who went undrafted this year, and now he had just got waived by the Browns. But after he got waived by the Browns, it is more than likely that he's going to end up going back to college, going back to LSU, because he's entered the transfer portal from Ole Miss, and Louisiana just passed that rule, basically allowing players to return to college from the league. So this is pretty crazy, something we've actually never heard of before. I'm actually very interested to see where it goes. This would be a guy who pretty much went through some NFL training camps and rookie mini camp, all that good stuff. He went through all that, and then he's going to go back to LSU to dominate. He had a pretty good year at Ole Miss, even though he went undrafted, and now he pretty much will be a pro going against college kids, which is pretty crazy. I just think the whole situation is crazy, but it's pretty much going to open up doors for guys who are on the fence, who want to go see if they can maybe make it farther in the league, if they can make the league, and then if everything doesn't work out, they have that avenue to go back to college and pretty much up their status again and try again. So I actually kind of like it. We'll see how it ends up going. I'm pretty sure, not for certain, that it's only Louisiana right now that is allowing that. So LSU is the best team in Louisiana, obviously. So more than likely, all the kids are going to be on their way to Louisiana if that does happen. So, LSU, sorry. So that's just what's going on there. Next up, let's talk about Mr. Vita Vea. He's back on the Buccaneers. They got their defensive stud back. They ended up paying him his money. We talked about before, he was disgruntled. He wanted to trade. No more of that. He's back to be their leader on defense. And if they want to contend, he's a big part of that. He has to lead that defense. So I like that signing for the Bucs. It's just a 1-year extension, so anything could happen next year. But for right now, both sides are happy, so good for the Buccaneers. Next up, let's get into some of the injuries that are going on. The big one that just happened, Ashton Jeanty. Oh my gosh, they're talking about significant leg injury. He couldn't put weight on it, and this is a guy they took very high in the draft to be a huge part of their offense, pretty much a centerpiece of their offense. They drafted Mendoza now, who we were hyping him up. He threw a pick six. We ain't gonna talk too much. Watch the last video. You'll see a little bit of why. But anywho, yeah, he had that leg injury, and I don't know. He could be out a significant amount of time if he couldn't put weight on it. And that's a huge loss for the Raiders because they kind of just want to have that run game be significant for them. They want to lean on Jeanty. They want to improve the O-line to kind of give him better running alleys, to kind of open up the door for Mendoza when he does play. And then Kirk Cousins, when more than likely he'll start the season off and getting passes to Brock Bowers. But this is a huge loss for them, I think. This is probably the biggest loss they could have on offense besides Brock Bowers. So the Raiders, they're trending down after this. You should definitely be panicking if Ashton Jeanty does miss significant time. Next up, another injury, Jayden Higgins, a guy I talked about it in a previous video that I loved, and going into the draft, and he had a pretty good year last year. He's still improving. He was a guy that the Texans had a lot of high hopes for. He's pretty much going to be their wide receiver too, behind Nico Collins. And yeah, he had a ACL injury. He is now out for the season. The Texans are now looking for another receiver to take his place. We don't know who they're going to get. I've seen they made some calls to the Patriots for Booty, and then a couple other teams to just gauge the water for a receiver replacement. But that is a huge hole on the Texans that were already lacking receivers. So we'll see what they end up doing. But they just lost their second-year receiver who they had high hopes for, and Jayden Higgins. And then lastly on that, we got Michael Penix. He's back. He's going to be fighting out, as we all know, with Tua. And We'll see. It's a battle of lefties. Tua hasn't been great. I mean, it's so hard to judge. It's like his brain, you know what I'm saying? But it's gonna be an interesting situation in Atlanta. I hope. I like Penix a lot going into when he came out. He hasn't really lived up to those expectations, I would say. I think he still has a lot of potential. I think his arm could be very good. He can move, even though he's coming off leg injuries. That's where it's scary. But it's a tough situation in Atlanta for that quarterback battle. But Penix is back, so we'll see who ends up winning that job. If Tua keeps playing like he has been, though, Penix thinks he got a good chance. So we'll see who it is. I'm happy with that. So that's pretty much what's going on around the league. Lastly, we're just gonna give out a shout out to Nick Chubb, man, because he was a great career to watch. I watched him some at Georgia. Obviously, when he went to the league, he was great with the Browns. Somehow never was an all-pro, so the kids might not understand how good Nick Chubb was, but this dude was a star. He's one of the best running backs I've ever watched, and shout out to him, great career. And if injuries had went better for him, he probably still will be playing to this day. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had for you guys today. Let's see, I didn't really come up with a hot take, so my hot take right now is gonna be George Pickens leads the Cowboys in receiving. He's gonna end up being their better receiver. CD, George, they're pretty close, but I think George is really gonna take off this year. It's a contract year for him, and just wait and see on George. So anywho, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe, like the video if you haven't already. It really helps me out a lot. And yeah, thank you again. I'm McGarrett Hart. This is Heart Zone, and I'm out.